Good morning. My name is LJ Stambuk. I'm the President and CEO of the World Affairs Council of Charlotte. We're delighted today to have with us Tom Glick from Tepper Enterprises. Tom, welcome. Welcome to the Distinguished Speaker Series program with the World Affairs Council. We're delighted to have you. As you know, Tom Glick is the President of Tepper Sports Entertainment and the Carolina Panthers. And he will speak today to us about Tepper Sports Entertainment, the Panthers, the Charlotte Football Club, and international sports in the time of COVID. The World Affairs Council is the community's premier global education nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We have always sought to bring the world closer to you and to build a community of internationally informed and engaged citizens. Dialogue, knowledge, active participation, and an understanding of global issues are vitally important for our democracy to flourish at all levels. We have a program on Thursday that I would invite you to come, and allow me just to say a couple of words about it. We have Dr. Andrea Gamboto. He is a professor of surgery at the University of Pittsburgh, and he's a COVID-19 vaccine developer together with the University of Milan in Italy. He's going to talk on how to develop a COVID-19 vaccine for the world. What's interesting about the vaccine they are developing in collaboration is that it's going to be something that can you put on your skin, and it is easy to distribute and to implement. So join us on Thursday, this Thursday, September 24th at 2 p.m. if you're interested in the state of vaccine development for COVID-19. Couple of housekeeping points. Your microphone will be on mute and your camera is going to be turned off for the duration of this presentation. We do want you to submit a question. Please do so, but to submit it, please use the Q&A box in the Zoom toolbar. You can see it highlighted with a red circle. Please use the Q&A box for your question, not the chat box. Do note that this presentation will be recorded and we will share it through the WAC mailing list. So make sure you're signed up and that we have your correct email so we can send you this video recording of today's Distinguished Speaker Series program with Tom Glick. If you enjoyed this free program, please consider making a tax-deductible donation to help support our international education mission. And if you are a member, thank you for being a member. If you're not a member, please do consider becoming a member. It is crucial for us to have us, the World Affairs Council, the leading community platform for nonpartisan discourse on the most important international topics, be able to continue doing what we've been doing for the last 37 years in the Charlotte community. So do become a World Affairs Council member, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you. Let me introduce Tom to you. Tom enters his second season as the team president of the Carolina Panthers. And welcome to Charlotte, Tom. We are really delighted to have you here. We've met, and I can say only the best. We are very fortunate to have Tom here. And let me just share, we both went to Cornell, big Red fans. It's great to have another Cornell alumni in Charlotte. He has joined the Carolina Panthers in September 2018. In his role, Glick oversees the team's day-to-day operations. Glick comes to the Panthers with more than 30 years of experience in sports management, having worked in baseball, basketball, hockey, and soccer in both the United States and the United Kingdom. For the prior 6 years, Glick was instrumental in the development of City Football Group, CFG, a multinational soccer organization that includes 7 clubs. CFG's original and flagship club is 3-time and current English Premier League champion Manchester City Football Club. The group also owns New York City Football Club of Major League Soccer, as well as clubs in the top divisions in Australia, Spain, Japan, Uruguay, and China. In 2008, Glick relocated to the United Kingdom to take on the role of Chief Executive Officer with Derby County Football Club, prior to joining CFG in 2012. In February 2015, Glick moved to New York to help launch the New York City Football Club in the role of president. With the launch complete, he returned to the United Kingdom to continue to drive CFG's global expansion. As a part of this, He has also been responsible for the group's business development in China. Tom is a two-time winner of Sports Business Journal's 40 Under 40 award. Glick was the first American elected to serve on the board of the Football League in England and has also served on the Football Association Council and the Professional Game Board. Tom and his wife Maria have 3 children, Chuck, Ted, and Maisie. And what an international career. What a global reach of sports you have experienced and done in your career, Tom. So let me say this again. We're delighted to have you in Charlotte. We see a great future with you here. And I'm delighted to turn the microphone over to you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, LJ. Thank you, everyone. Before I begin, let's see if I can turn the trick of sharing my screen. LJ, how do we do there? Can you see the full screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Wonderful.
can. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with all of you today. The World Affairs Council is a wonderful organization, and we're really all fortunate to benefit from the great programming, the wide array of programming. You've just heard about Dr. Gamboto coming up later this week. Next week, I know we're going to hear about global recovery and U.S. policy and the future of banking, the banking business, and then also from leaders in biotech, automotive, and the motion picture industry. So I don't know how I'm going to compete with that, but hopefully I can provide a bit of a sports and entertainment snack between now and then. As you've heard, I'm a fairly recent transplant to Charlotte. I'm an American who spent most of the last decade abroad, based in the UK, but traveling around the world. And now I'm fortunate to be part of the Charlotte community, part of Tepper Sports and Entertainment. This is a new brand, and this may be one of the first or few times that you're hearing about Tepper Sports and Entertainment. Tepper, of course, our owner, David Tepper. If we go back even 8 months before the pandemic, we were simply the Carolina Panthers. This is before we had our Major League Soccer club, and the Panthers were our sole business. But now, as we continue our journey forward, we now have 4 lines of business, which include the Carolina Panthers, our Major League Soccer club, Charlotte Football Club, and a live event business and a venues business. And what I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about some of that business. I'd like to share with you a bit about the Carolina Panthers as we begin a new era with the Panthers and a new season. Give you some insight into the birth of our new Major League Soccer club. And since, after all, this is the World Affairs Council of Charlotte, talk a bit about the global convergence of sport and its increasing reach and relevance and impact through the eyes of the 2 sports that we're in so far, the NFL and soccer. Let me start with the Panthers. We're beginning a new era, and the best way to think about that new era is through the eyes of these 2 gentlemen. On the right, our owner, David Tepper, and on the left, our new head coach, Matt Rule. Matt is someone that we're really fortunate to have, as you know, has joined us back in January after a decorated college career. And in short, we see in Matt an elite leader, an amazing coach and communicator, and we're going to be building really strong foundations with Matt. We're starting in not the most ideal of circumstances for Matt. He wasn't even able to meet our players, knew many of our coaches, and then of course we went into lockdown. So our pre-training camp, our training camp, everything has been done in less than ideal circumstances. And we prepare right now for what we hope will be games at Bank of America Stadium. We're making preparations for our next game on October 4th. We have games on the 18th and the 29th, and we're hoping that very soon we'll be able to open the doors so that you and other fans are able to join us for the games. We're taking particularly good care of football. The NFL has an incredible record so far in terms of keeping players and coaches and support staff safe, and we have gone to great lengths in order to make sure that they stay safe and they stay separate. And we've been investing in new innovations. This just for a bit of fun. is one of the 2 droids that we employ throughout Bank of America Stadium to disinfect all of the spaces that are being used by the team. 2 weeks ago, this is the view from or 2 Sundays ago in our first game against the Raiders, is a bit of a surreal view of Bank of America Stadium, certainly unlike I had ever seen, and you have as well. But this is mid-game against the Raiders, it's a season that's begun like no other, and as you know, especially if you followed this last weekend, we haven't had the ideal start. We're 0-2. We've just had an injury to Christian McCaffrey, and so we're going to keep on battling through. There have been some positive signs for the Carolina Panthers. We've showed real fight and real toughness, and we've been in a position in both games to win. I think the important thing here is that we're really building something for the long term and setting the right foundation. So the mindset of the team is to keep going and to keep battling, and we're squarely focused on getting ready for this coming Sunday. We'll be out in Los Angeles against the Chargers before returning home against the Arizona Cardinals on the 4th of October. Charlotte Football Club is our new brand, as you know. And I think that one of the important things to understand about this club is that this was really important for my very first conversation with David Tepper when I met him in the summer of 18 and was interviewing to join him here in Charlotte. And Dave is a massive NFL football fan, but it's important to understand how excited he is about the arrival of this soccer club, and it's really easy to get him talking about it. But I think a picture tells 1,000 words, and so here is Dave with some of our fans on the 17th of December when we were celebrating the award of the expansion franchise. Here's Dave later that night with Mayor Lyles, with MLS Commissioner Don Garber, and with Di Murray from Ally, our lead partner and the partner who will be on the front of our jerseys. We've had to change the timeline for the launch of this club, and I think it's the right decision that we did. So we'll now be launching in March of 2022, and that extra time is going to allow us to get everything right. But the early returns for our new club here in Charlotte and the Carolinas are incredible. We have north of 30,000 season ticket deposits already, which is a huge number and ahead of the pace that Atlanta United was on when they launched 4 years ago. And Atlanta has really set the standard for that league. So that's a really good pace for us to be on. And here are some of the other marks that you're seeing, and the gear also. And the reason I wanted to show you these marks is the gear is really flying off the shelves for our new football club, our new soccer club. I go back and forth between football and soccer with my time in the UK. And the year ahead, or the 18 months between now and March of 2022, is going to be jam-packed with firsts. And these will be firsts for us to enjoy and experience together. Enhancements to Bank of America Stadium, the signing of a new head coach, recruitment of more players, the unveiling of our uniforms, which can often be such a big moment. Our youth academy, which will comprise some of the most talented young players from around North and South Carolina, has actually already begun, and that will continue to grow. And we expect that some of these young players who are currently playing at the under-17 level will be knocking on the door of that first team, that senior team, in March of 22. So many events for fans throughout the year, virtual right now, in person we hope as we go through 2021. The building of a new practice facility, lots of community service and engagement activities. So it's going to be an incredible 18 months. I've had the privilege of being involved in some new clubs before, and it's a really special opportunity. And we feel a big sense of responsibility to get it right. And the thing about a new organization like this is it is the kind of organization that Charlotteans who've been here for years, or those like myself who've moved here recently and have come here to build a career and to build a life. It's a chance for them to share it together, to build it together, and it gives us all something to belong to. And so we're really going to take advantage and dive into this opportunity to create this new community asset and then enjoy it together as we build it together. I mentioned earlier that we have two other lines of business, and I thought I'd just touch briefly on live events and on venues. And there's a couple of important things to understand. First is really to understand our view of Bank of America Stadium. It's an amazing venue in such a great location at the hub of our region, and it has a bright future ahead of it, really bright future. We're investing in it, and we're going to be bringing millions and millions more fans here to Bank of America Stadium, where I'm sitting this morning, not just for the NFL, not just for Major League Soccer, but also for so many other experiences in live music, in other sports, in festivals, and more. And as we continue to invest, I wanted to show you one of our most recent investments. This is a look into the entrance of the gallery right by the Panthers locker room on field level. And the gallery are 14 new suites on field level in the west end zone. This is how they look from the field a couple of months ago when we were finalizing construction. What's extraordinary about the gallery suites is not just that you're right there in the end zone with the team, but you also have a view from your suite into the corridor as the players come to and from the locker room pre-game, halftime, and at the end of the game. With a great shared lounge for networking in the middle. We had a few guests in 2 Sundays ago when we played the Raiders, and this is a bit of a look into the shared lounge. And this is going to be such a special new part of what we do. It will be front of house for the Garth Brooks concert. It will be backstage for the Rolling Stones. Just an amazing location. And it's the first of many things that we'll be doing to continue to enhance Bank of America Stadium. Soccer enhancements, of course, are coming to get us ready for March of 22. And there also will be a big focus on dining. And we have a great new catering partner that's just begun with us, which is Levy. And they are, of course, are part of Compass Group, which is headquartered right here in Charlotte, as you all know. So there's so much opportunity for events at Bank of America Stadium for a variety, really something for everyone. And our mission is to continue to program it and bring people together here and to bring people into Uptown Charlotte to spend time before and after the events at the stadium. And as we look ahead at venues, there's another venue that we've just broken ground on, and you'll be hearing more about in the coming years. The tentative name is The Rock. This will change, and this is a result of David Tepper's big vision for a public-private partnership with the state of South Carolina, with York County, and with the city of Rock Hill. It has an extraordinary location just 23 miles south of Uptown Charlotte on I-77, and it's going to become a new center of activity and a new center of commerce for our region. And it's a massive site. It's 240 acres, which is roughly 3 times the size of what the Dallas Cowboys have just built outside of Dallas, and their new development called the Star, which, to be fair, is extraordinary and has really raised the bar in terms of what a training ground for an NFL team or any sports team should encompass. And so we've taken that challenge on, and we have 3 times the space to really imagine what goes along with it. Ours will be a mixed-use development, and there again will be something for everyone. Certainly sports, other live events, visitor attraction, meetings and conference, shopping, healthcare, a big corporate park, and also people living there. Activities outdoors to enjoy the outdoors. We're nearby the Catawba River, and this is just a glimpse at some of the zones that will be taking shape. And then, of course, the centerpiece will be an iconic new building, the headquarters for the Carolina Panthers. And this is a glimpse of what this building is going to look like, and this building will be ready to go in the spring of 23 and for training camp for the Panthers in 23. So we couldn't be more excited about this. It'll be a great complement to everything that we do in Uptown Charlotte, and you'll be hearing more and more about it in the weeks ahead. So let's now look at the world of sport internationally and how it perhaps is relevant for us here in Charlotte and the Carolinas. More sports are pushing to expand internationally these days. Most sports are really. They're looking for more fans. They're looking for more partners. They're looking for more media partnerships. They're looking for more revenue. and no matter what their country of origin, they're all looking. And this is certainly true of the two sports that we're involved with, the NFL and with soccer. Let's start with the NFL. The NFL, of course, is a distinctly American sport. And the NFL has been exporting itself for more or less 3 decades now and been getting a lot of traction. I think the country that we think of the most with the NFL, where it's had the most traction, is in the UK. And this is where most of the games have happened. In fact, all of the games that are league games that count and aren't exhibitions have been occurring consistently in the UK over the last 12 years. There are now some in Mexico, as you probably know, that are also counting. When I moved to England in 2008, the first London game in the league had occurred just a couple months before. It was the Dolphins and the Giants. And there was one game that year. And as I lived there for the next 10 years, I watched one game go to 2 and 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, and has been consistent now at 4 games. They all sell out, and there's an incredible following. Of course, the Panthers were there that last fall, and this is a shot of not only that really I think shows some of the growth of the game over in the UK. This stadium was purpose built for the NFL to inhabit on a regular basis, along with its primary tenant, which is Tottenham Hotspur of the English Premier League. This was a great adventure for our organization. We went over to win a game. We did win the game, but we had a chance also to do some fun things with fans. Many of you may have been over there along with us. Dave had a great time. This is him pulling pints at the Barrow Boy pub in London. The NFL, so here's a view of the NFL and just some recent statistics in terms of where NFL fans are. And I think what's important about this particular slide to understand the NFL and the fact that it is this distinctly American sport is, I think, the best way to describe the NFL is it's more international rather than global. There are really just a handful of countries where the NFL has a real foothold, and you're looking at several of them right here. I would add to this list now China, which it just is irresistible as a commercial market. Many of your businesses, I'm sure, are also there or focused there, and the same is true for the NFL, although there are some time zone issues with China with respect to the game times. So the NFL is going to continue to push, and I think if we had to circle the markets where the NFL will really be investing, Mexico and Canada, Brazil, there's some real time zone advantages there. Germany and the United Kingdom. You'll see here the United Kingdom, while it has had the most activity, actually doesn't have the most fans. It's a market about the same size as Germany. Germany has also a huge appetite for the NFL, and I think we'll start to see some games in Germany very soon. And then the other real market of focus that's not listed here would be China. And what I think will be interesting as the NFL pushes is they're starting to innovate and modify their focus. One of the most significant things that's happening right now is they've come to us as teams. They've come to the Panthers, they've come to the Patriots, they've come to the Saints and others and said, we'd like you to help us expand. And so they have a new program called the International Home Market for Teams, which will allow us and other teams to select some of these markets and to say, we'd like to go there and develop a local fan base in one or more of these countries. And while we've had to take our focus for the moment to surviving the pandemic, I think this could be a really interesting opportunity for the Carolina Panthers in the future. A market like Germany, for example, is one that jumps off the page for me. We have quite a bit of German business already here in the Carolinas. There could be some good synergies there for us, the direct flights that we have from Charlotte Douglas, along with the natural affinity of Germans for the NFL game. We don't have to be limited there, but we think that's one that might make sense. And offline, separate from this this time together today, if you have thoughts on this is something I'd be very interested in hearing from you and speaking about. Let's shift to soccer. Soccer is a different story. So if the NFL is international, soccer is truly global. This map here shows by color the favorite sport of each country in each part of the world. And green is soccer or football, as it's listed here. So this football equals soccer on this map. And it's really stunning to see the dominance that soccer has. You'll notice that there are certain parts of the world where there is another sport that's the favorite. Cricket over in Australia and India, table tennis in China, of course in the United States here, largely NFL. Some states baseball or basketball might be the favorite. A little bit more baseball and yellow in the northern part of South America. But soccer is really dominant, and in many of the countries that have a different color as their favorite sport, soccer is the strong number 2. I didn't really have a full appreciation of this until I started working in soccer in the UK 12 years ago. And as you heard from LJ, a big chunk of my time was spent with Manchester City, and I joined there in 2012. And we just had the one club, and City Football Group has now grown. Like LJ from my bio has said 7 clubs. It's now grown to 10 clubs. They've added a club in India, a club in the Netherlands, and a club in France just a few weeks ago. So if you blink, their City Football Group is adding another club. But this is an innovation in the world of soccer. It's the first multinational, and I think is redefining the way professional soccer operates and organizes itself in order to have the highest level of performance. So they have clubs, they have a football IP company that organizes talent and coaching and sports science, commercial organization, a global foundation, and some soccer-related businesses. So it was a real adventure building that. And here was my travel schedule to the offices and clubs that we had. I'm enjoying being a lot more focused here in the United States and in the Carolinas at the moment. But this was a reflection of the opportunity that soccer had and has going forward. And I think in our country, the growth of the sport is undeniable. I've thrown a few logos up here, and what I wanted to capture here is the idea that there are more soccer fans in the United States than you might think. Several recent surveys just over the last 4 or 5 years have isolated this number at just under or just north of 100 million Americans would self-identify as a soccer fan. And this would include those who follow in a World Cup year. So there's a bit of patriotism going on. If you then filter out those folks who are really just following Team USA in a World Cup year, there are 70 or 75 million Americans who identify themselves as a fan of a certain club or a certain league or multiple clubs or multiple leagues. And that's a huge number. If you think about the NFL has 115 million fans and is the 800-pound gorilla of U.S. sport. Soccer as a sport has 100 million, and 75 million say that they're following a specific league or a specific club. So it's a big base already. The challenge for soccer is it can be a bit fragmented. So I've listed here, in the upper left, Major League Soccer, which is where Charlotte Football Club is joining. In the upper right-hand corner, the English Premier League, which you may watch on Saturday and Sunday mornings throughout the year. They own the breakfast to lunch spot on weekends, which I think is really great for them. In the lower left, the UEFA Champions League. This is the pan-European competition between the best clubs from the previous year. It's a tournament, and that's Tuesday and Wednesday nights in Europe and Tuesday and Wednesday afternoons here in Charlotte. In the lower right is a friendly or an exhibition tournament of the biggest clubs in the world that come, called the International Champions Cup. We enjoy those games here at Bank of America Stadium and have just signed a 5-year contract to continue to have some of the biggest clubs in the world come. And then lower center is Liga MX, or Liga MX, which is the Mexican league. And the Mexican league actually has as many people following it as any of these other leagues in the United States, which I think is an extraordinary statistic. But it just shows you the complex nature of soccer in our country. Also, why there is a growing alliance between Major League Soccer and Liga MX in terms of interleague games. And as we look forward to Charlotte and when Charlotte Football Club plays, we expect to be playing in head-to-head competitions against teams from Mexico City, and other cities throughout Mexico, which I think will be fun as well as a big opportunity for growth. So all of this, I think, is impressive. And then the upper, the center top is the 2026 World Cup, which was the joint bid between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And we're sort of building to that. It's sneaking up on us, but this is going to be a huge deal. Not only is it exciting for our country to have the World Cup back for the first time since '94, it's often not known by Americans that the biggest television contract that FIFA has for the World Cup every year, and this goes back for about 20 years now, is the United States contract, which goes back to these 100 million soccer fans that follow soccer in our country. So when this World Cup comes back, and so many of our cities are lit up by the best players and the national teams from around the world, it's going to be another level up for the sport in our country. And I think this is very exciting, and you're just going to see more soccer being played, more people watching on television, more people attending stadiums. So it's all good news for Charlotte. And not only will we have more visits from the world's biggest clubs, like Manchester City and Liverpool and Real Madrid and Barcelona for the International Champions Cup at Bank of America Stadium. Not only will we see Charlotte Football Club be born and begin playing, but Charlotte will have this growing window into the world through this global ecosystem of soccer. And I think it will provide a great connection point for business leaders, for city and country leaders, and more. And there'll be an opportunity there for us to leverage. So I could go on for a while about global sport, and I know we'll have opportunities to talk more and to collaborate together and figure out how we can leverage it for Charlotte and our region. But I know that LJ is keen to leave some time in case you have questions. So let me just wrap up this first part to say, I hope this has provided a helpful snapshot into what we're doing and what we're building at Tepper Sports and Entertainment. We feel so fortunate to be in the Carolinas, a part of the Carolinas. We have such a great place to work and to live, a booming market with a bright future. And we see our role in our sectors of sport and entertainment as playing an important role for quality of life, for marketing, for economic development, and for community service. And there's a lot that we want to do going forward. There's a lot we're going to do to add value to the Charlotte region and to North Carolina and to South Carolina, and to help it on its forward journey. So, so with that, I thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to answering any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. This is Mike Hawley. I'm on the board of directors of the World Affairs Council, and welcome to Charlotte. And thank you for your presentation. And we're going to jump into questions. And for those on the call who'd like to submit a question, do it in the Q&A box, which is at the lower part of your screen, and we'll try to pick up as many as we can. Tom, since you're new to Charlotte, it'd be lovely if you could give us a little snapshot into your world and your life. Maybe just a little bit of background on you, yourself, and in particular, what sports meant to you during your formative years. Maybe some memorable individuals who made you who you are, and who gave you your first break in business, something along those lines.
Super. Well, there's a lot in there. So I would say, I got into sport for the wrong reasons, which is that I love sport, which is not a bad reason. It's just not enough of one. I quickly discovered, but I was curious about the business of sports. I started in an unpaid internship in minor league baseball and really got hooked. I worked with some people who were passionate about what they did, and I kept going with it, and it's been a really fulfilling career. I've always loved a number of things about sport, but I still get a charge watching people stream through the gates in anticipation of an event or a game. Sports is a shared experience, so seeing families and friends come to a ballpark or a stadium or an arena together has always been fundamental to me. You know, sports at the end of the day are that, and that they're also a community asset. So I've always enjoyed the opportunity to connect with the community and to use the power of sport to change people's lives. And, you know, we have that opportunity with the Panthers and with Charlotte Football Club, and hope to deliver on it and to live up to it every day. If I had to say who's made an impact on me, there are so many, but you know, I had in the middle of my career a chance to work for then NBA Commissioner David Stern, and now NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, and both very different leaders, but both were, you know, remarkable executives. And that was I had been, you know, kind of grinding in small business startups, new ballparks in baseball. And when I moved to the NBA, I discovered an even higher level, a higher pace, a level of polish that was needed, but also a chance just to learn from these two and so many other great people at the NBA. So that was, I think, a really important moment for me to add to what I had learned in baseball.
Thank you. And actually, this kind of feeds in nicely into a question from Quanta Dawn Light, who's a regular on these videos. Thanks for joining us, Quanta. And it has to do with just your awareness of and the types of things that you might be thinking about doing relative to helping our community deal with upward mobility. And, you know, I had asked as well, you know, who gave you your first break in business? And I guess Quanta is kind of interested in knowing, you know, what you think the impact of the new football club in particular, as well as the Panthers operation, might have on some of these issues that we're all grappling with as a community.
That's a great question, and such an important topic. You know, I think we're thinking about it, and we'll be working at it in a couple of ways. If I just took the playing side for a minute, soccer is an interesting sport in our country, and like many sports, it's pay to play, and this means if you want to play youth soccer beyond maybe what's available in school or after school, there are fees to be paid to be part of a team, be part of a league, to have uniforms, and that can be a clear barrier to lots of people. And there is a lot of talent, a lot of young people who would get missed and would not be able to take advantage of this great sport, which ironically is a sport that's played around the world in small spaces between buildings and urban areas, and gravel and dirt in urban and rural areas, and is completely accessible because you really don't need anything else except for a ball, or if you don't have a ball, you can make your own ball. And if you don't have goalposts, you can make your own goalposts. Similar to basketball that way, and being extremely accessible. One of the key programs that we're building for our Charlotte Football Club community service will be to provide free coaching, very good coaching and free coaching to young people, boys and girls in at-risk neighborhoods who otherwise wouldn't have a chance. And to be able to do that so they can play, but also can develop their skills and their talent. And the Elite Academy that we run is an academy where you have to then earn your spot and re-earn your spot every year. So you can't buy your way in. You have to do it based on performance. And we fully expect that if we do this in a deliberate, continuous way, that we will give opportunities and help young people develop their talents. Some will have passion and a high level of talent, and will be able to earn their way into a professional career. But that's also very difficult, and the odds are long to be able to make it as a professional soccer player. Sports has so many other positive things that it brings. But if you think about the occupation that I'm in, which is on the business or the administrative side of sport, this is a career that I didn't know existed. And we need to go out and promote the occupation, promote the industry, and to do that in places where people otherwise wouldn't be looking. So this will also be an important part of our recruitment and community service, is to be in the high schools and to be in the colleges and universities locally here and around the Carolinas, to be able to promote the occupation to a diverse set of students who may not understand that there's a career that even exists, provide them with that opportunity to work and the inspiration to do so. So we have some partnerships that we've begun already and some more partnerships that we'll be building to make this possible.
Great, thank you. And you know, we've the chat or the Q&A box is beginning to fill up, and I think, you know, one type of question that's in there, and this comes from John Gallus as well as from others, is if you could give us a little bit of a glimpse into the prolific mind of David Tepper. He seems an incredible person who we are also just getting to know. And I guess what is it that, from your perspective, differentiates him from the other leaders you've been exposed to in your career?
That's a great question. I feel really fortunate to be working with David and helping him to build. I didn't know David until about 2.5 years ago, and I got a phone call about the opening at the Panthers, and I was completely fulfilled and challenged at City Football Group, but I was encouraged to fly to New York to meet him, and I'm really glad that I did. And what I found in David, what I have found in David. Is someone who he's very bright, but he's very driven and excited by work. You know, he would describe himself as a grinder, you know, and by that, you know, as you know, he means that, you know, he's really working and sweating every day. We speak daily. We speak about strategic things. We also speak about details, and he's really switched on to all of that. In addition to, of course, his investment business, he loves sport. He's competitive, so winning is important to him. I think that David doesn't overcomplicate it. He wants to do what makes sense, and a lot of times common sense in so many businesses, and certainly ours, is important. Getting the fundamentals right before we go out and invent something new. We're of course focused on both things, and there'll be some great inventions in our future, but as well as getting the fundamentals right is important. David understands the power of sport. He's a charitable guy. One of the things that I remember distinctly in our first meeting is he said, I think this is one of the great things you can do in life, but I think it also is going to allow me to make an even bigger impact with some of the charitable things that I've done so far. And I think that's very true. I think there's a real opportunity there for us. And I think the other thing that it's important for all of us to understand here in Charlotte and the region is David is a huge believer in this region. He when I met him, you know, I said, you know, why did you buy the Panthers? And he said, because it was for sale. And because it's a good investment, but which I think is true. When these NFL teams come up, they don't come up very often. So there's agreed to it being for sale, which made sense. But what he also knew is that the Carolinas are an amazing place, a place with a really bright future. And he's now seen that firsthand. He latched onto it very quickly. So he's a big future cheerleader, investor, and proponent of this region. And I know is looking forward to partnering and collaborating with so many people to continue to add to it and drive it forward. So he's been terrific. I've really enjoyed the time so far.
That's a fantastic insight. Thanks so much for that. Yeah, Lubomir Stambuk just sent me a note, and he said that he's gotten notes from several of the people on the call that you had mentioned that the merchandise is flying off the shelves. And, I think there are people on this call that basically have reduced a lot of your inventory. So whatever you're doing is working. David Head and some others on the call are kind of curious about your development plans, and you've outlined some of them and all of the great things that are going on in Rock Hill. And by the way, you know, as you rightly note, I mean, we are the Carolinas. We're pretty agnostic when it comes to state lines. And, this is all great stuff for us, regardless of which state line it's on or over. And so we're pleased that you're doing all the region. I guess the question for you is, how do you go about analyzing infrastructure projects. A comparable question is how do extrinsic situations like the pandemic affect that planning and what you're likely to do? And also, I mean, David threw in there, for instance, putting a dome on Panther Stadium.
So, well, in terms of the second part, I think the pandemic has caused so many of us to pause in terms of whatever we were planning to do beforehand. And I know lots of us are asking questions, what is the future of work like? What is the future of real estate like? Will there be changes in our behaviors? And, I think that we all have hypotheses and maybe some insights into that. But I think if anything, it's, we have had to focus on the immediate and playing a bit of defense because of the disruption to our sports business, our NFL business right now, which has caused us to set some other projects on the shelf or partially on the shelf in order to deal with what's immediately in front of us. But I think in some other cases, we're pausing perhaps to reflect and see what makes sense. And in the case of something like Bank of America Stadium, or whether there would be a new stadium, which is something I know that David has talked about and you've probably read about. We just have to wait and see what makes sense. And I think wait and see how the dust settles on the pandemic. And as we do that, as I said earlier, we're going to continue to invest in Bank of America Stadium, which is a great place and has a really bright future to it. There's so much more that we can and will be doing here. And because the location is great, it will always be tempting to us to consolidate here at Bank of America Stadium, but I think it's too early to say. There's also lots more to do here in Uptown Charlotte, and it's a focus of Center City Partners. It's a focus of the mayor and a number of other stakeholders in the area, and we look forward to locking arms with them and to figuring out how we can continue to build on what's already great here in the center of the city.
Great, thanks, Tom. So let's talk about players. Let's talk about soccer players in particular. We're used to all of the football players. We've pretty much come down. Folks like Alina McNichol, who's on the call, Sandy Thompson, others would like to know a little bit about how you're going to populate the player ranks. When's that going to start? What kind of announcements are going to be associated with it? And what types of players are you looking for? And are you going to use kind of the European model that I guess relies to a great degree on very young athletes?
So it's a great question. We're in the middle of this right now. We've made a great start. We have a scouting team of 5 already assembled that have been working since last December, scouting throughout this country and around the world. And we have one player signed already, a player named Sergio Luis, 25-year-old central midfielder, playmaker, Spanish player, is now, who now is under contract with Charlotte, but is on loan to a club called Las Palmas in Spain. Played on Sunday, had a great game for Las Palmas. I was able to watch some of it on video. And the roster, in addition to Sergio, will be built over the next 18 months. And I think we'll build it in phases. There are transfer windows for international players that occur periodically throughout the year. We're in one of them right now. That window closes on the 29th of October. We may be doing some additional business between now and the end of October to add some players who would be a part of the backbone of Charlotte's team, but would also go out on loan for the next 18 months like Sergio has. There's another window that opens up in January and just runs the month of January, and then another one that starts next summer, and then the following January. So really 4 transfer windows between now and the time that we kick off. It will be a college draft and an expansion draft. The expansion draft will happen for Charlotte in the fall, the month of October of 2021, and that's where we'll get to pick from the rosters of the other teams in Major League Soccer. We don't expect to get game-changing players, but we will get squad players. Teams are able to protect a large number of their squad, but not their entire squad. So we'll pick 4 or 5 players in October who have experience in the league. And then the college draft will be January of 22, and we'll have a chance to pick from the best players. In fact, we'll pick first in that draft in January of 22. We have a great region for soccer, so it may be that we're picking somebody from UNC or Wake Forest or Clemson, for example, which all, of course, have great college programs. In addition to all of this, as we've invested in the club, we've been given a territory, and we have the best territory because we have all of North and South Carolina. It's a rich area of talent, and so we're developing partnerships with the youth soccer clubs throughout North and South Carolina that will then fold into our academy that I referenced earlier. And so I expect that we'll be producing and developing our own players here from North and South Carolina over the early years of our squad. And we might even see 1 or 2 of these players find their way into that very first year. So it'll be we'll use every bit of the 18 months between now and then to put a squad together, and we'll blend great young talent with some experience, because our objective is to be competitive and to be a winner from the beginning. There's no sense lying down as an expansion team, as maybe we've gotten used to in other sports. This is one where we're able to put together a competitive team from the beginning, and that's what we're going to do.
Sounds exciting. Maybe just 2 questions to close up, Tom. Marco Carboni writes in that he's a rabid soccer fan, an Italian, and I guess he's kind of interested in what type of outreach are you going to have? You've mentioned a little bit the German community and others. What type of outreach plans do you have relative to the multi-ethnic, multicultural communities that are here in the Carolinas? And I guess if you could close up maybe by, there probably are a number of people on this call who did not grow up with soccer and think that the word football, the American football name, has been co-opted by the soccer folks with a U in the middle of it. And, they're totally unfamiliar with other than the excitement that looks like is going on. Tell us what you recommend for new advocates or folks who are interested in soccer. What is it that we should be looking at and should be excited by? So thanks.
Thanks, Mike. So on the first one, I would be really interested in hearing offline from Marco about how we can reach out to the Italian community. What I would say is that we'll be doing quite a bit through the schools, and I think that's going to provide us a great foundation in school and after school programs for coaching and literacy and other programs. And as I said earlier, many of these programs free coaching for those who can't afford to. But we want to be at as many events and festivals and tournaments and playing fields as we can. And there are so many adults who are playing as well. So we often think of soccer as a youth game, but there are so many adult leagues that also will be a big part of where we focus. In terms of following the sport of soccer or football, I learned 12 years ago. I learned very quickly to erase the word soccer from my vocabulary in England. It literally took 2 or 3 days by getting beaten out of me. And they, of course, over there spell it F-O-O-T-B-A-L-L. But it's spelled different ways in different parts of the world, and other parts of the world, like we do, like Australia, it's called soccer. But what I would say is there are a number of ways to follow the sport. Right now, the Premier League product in England is an amazing product, and you can watch that on NBC Sports every Saturday and Sunday morning, and I think that's a terrific way to watch. Major League Soccer, we're in the middle of the season right now. You can watch that on ESPN and Univision and Fox Sports Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and weeknights. That's a great way to watch. and there are a number of other really interesting competitions. We will definitely be working as a part of what we do to is to help the curious novice soccer fans or just sports fans who really want to learn it to be able to learn the sport and develop confidence. And one of the great things about a soccer game, and maybe you saw this when we launched the team, the expansion in December, was David Tepper talked about a party and are you ready to party? And there is an element of what we're going to have at Bank of America Stadium, which will feel like a party or a festival. It has a different feel in the stadium. So what I would say to all of those curious sports fans and novices is we're going to put a party on. It'll be a great experience. We will welcome you to that party and help you develop confidence with the sport that you're following. I think you'll have a great time with it. And this is a big part of what we'll be doing over the next 18 months is really working with the fans here to create this extraordinary, special, and distinctive sports atmosphere that will describe Charlotte Football Club games at the stadium.
Well, that's great, and that's one thing we always sign up for are parties. So
Indeed.
looking forward to that. And I had seen Wayne Cooper flash on the screen. He was putting his jacket on, which means that he's probably in the wings to close us out. But I'll turn it over to Lubomir and to Wayne to do that. And again, thank you, Tom. Really a terrific presentation.
Thank you, Mike.
Lubomir, you're on mute, as they say.
I said, thank you, Tom, and thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. Wayne Cooper, the board chairman of the World Affairs Council of Charlotte. Thank you, everyone, for participating today, and thank you, the board members that are participating from the World Affairs Council. Wayne Cooper.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, and thank you, Tom, for a great presentation. I tell you, you know what? I was thinking under the Distinguished Speaker Series, we have local, national, and international leaders, and Tom, you fit all three, and your group is really changing the face of the Carolinas. You know, as LJ said at the beginning, if you are a member, please, if you're not a member, please become a member. And if you are a member, then consider upgrading your membership, because this really helps LJ and the staff continue these great programs. Well, with that, we look forward to seeing all of you at the very next meeting, at the next session. And thank you all so much for attending today's presentation. Meeting adjourned.
Thank
LJ?
you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you at 2 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Thank you.